Hi everyone, Emma here. I'm so excited to show you how to make these 4 stretch bracelets. This is part of, these beads are all from the Desert Caravan Curiosities box from John Bead. And I have to say, the next box is available to order. It's called Creep It Real, and that's a Halloween box or a Halloween themed box. And there's only 3 of those left. So if you like Halloween like most of us beaders do, definitely take a look and order your box. I'll put the links in the description so you can click on it and it'll bring you to the John Bead Friends and Family site, and you click on Curiosities box and you can pick the individual box. So yeah, let's get started. I wanted to do something interesting with stretch bracelets to kind of like make them a little more elevated than just your basic stretch bracelet. So that worked out perfectly with these lovely fire polish beads. So we had 4 different types of these lovely fire polish beads. There's one here too. Let's take this out and show you. So these were in this latest box, Desert Caravan. So a few things I'm going to talk to you about. So first of all, I find if you take beads like this or any beads that you like and add some gold-plated findings or some like fancier findings, you can really improve your, sorry about that, kind of elevate your stretch bracelet, and it makes it like easier to take on and off. I find as I get older, my fingers don't work as well trying to get a clasp on. So this is kind of cool to be able to do this. And we're also going to make some earrings. So there's that. And I'm going to tell you a bit about some different tools you can use for doing stretch bracelets. So first of all, let's take a look at, let me grab one of these findings. So I have some earring findings. These ones here are really cool. They're very fancy. They're gold plated and they have the prong that you can attach a bead to. And they are like the huggy earrings. So if you look, this part here is hinged. So you can pop that open and put this on and then just click it back. So I went ahead and made a set already, just because with these, because the prong is small and the hole is a nice size, you want to put your glue and then set it and leave it for 24 hours. I used initially the what is it called? Gorilla Glue. That's like the crazy glue. I do not like it. It leaves a residue. I had to polish my beads. It was just disgusting. And I don't know, this one's not too bad. Let me see this one. Yeah, look, it's still moving. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my GS Hypo cement, and because it's got the fine needle, there's a needle that you can put that in there and set it, leave it so it sets. But these they're like, how simple is this? Right? And they're gorgeous. So there's, oh, look, it came off. Look at this. This is terrible. Yeah, I wouldn't use the crazy glue or Gorilla Glue. I never had problems with it. Maybe the glue is just gone past its best before date or something. And then this one here. So definitely when you're doing stuff like this, like earrings and findings, you want to test your glue, or there's a bunch of videos on what glues are best to use with what. So whether it's findings, beads, that kind of thing. So definitely take a look at that. And here are some of, now these ones here, you don't need any glue, using a head pin with some beads. So we got these lovely blue beads and these leaf beads, and I used a ring. And this again is like the huggy, so you go to the back and open it that way and clip it. So actually, you know what? Let's do the bracelets first. Sorry about the confusion. Do the bracelets so that we can see what we're doing with the earrings. Now, as you can see, I'm on this special tray. This is a Beadalon tray, and I wanted to show you these trays are great for measuring. And I actually measured against a ruler. These are accurate. So I always thought they were just suggestions. And then I think somebody told me like, no, they're accurate. I'm like, oh, okay. So I have them set up. They have the little groove here. So your beads will sit in there nicely. And you can line them up to figure out where you want to put things. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention to you is these things here, these little wire things. A subscriber bought me a set and sent them to me. There's a lady that makes these. I guess I'm not sure what they're made of, some type of metal, but they're meant for doing memory wire. Because if you're doing rows of memory wire, you need to know how many beads to put on each, and you can line them up so to see how the colors come out. So if you want a pattern change, that kind of thing. So these are great to take a look at how your findings sit next to your beads and what that's going to look like. And we put a little charm. So let's get started. Now, we have a bunch of different stretch cord. So this one here is 0.08. It's not quite a millimeter thick. And I got this years ago. I think they still sell them like this on Amazon with the dispenser, which is really nice. I mean, you don't need the dispenser, but if you want, you can. So, I like to use this cord. Some people like to use this one here, which is called floss or crystal. And you can see let's see if I can show you. It has a bunch of strands stuck together. You know, it's funny when you want it to come apart, it doesn't, but so these like strands will sometimes come apart. So you have to remember that when you're using it. Over time, they will start to fray and come apart. But most of the time, people use this because they have a bead hole that's super tiny. Or, and you can also double this up and it's going to pass through the hole nicely. So there's that. We'll see. I haven't tested any of these yet for these beads. Now these bead holes are super big, so they should be fine. They have different colors of this floss. I don't find you really need the different color, but if you have, like I have here, where you have crystals, you don't want the color to go through. I think the white would probably be fine, or the larger crystal should be fine. And I just wanted to show, I think we got one of these in our Curiosity box, and that's the John Bead stretch cord. So that's lovely, the black, and it's super strong. Like unbelievably, like I'm pulling hard and it's not breaking. So there's that. Now, one of the things that you can do too is to string your beads on to your cord directly just by taking one bead at a time and putting it on. But if you were doing a whole bunch, like say heishi beads, it has a bigger hole. You can go ahead and make your own needle to do it. And all you do is you take a piece of, let me see, let's do it the length. We'll do it on the small one. So do it cut a piece a little bit longer than what you're going to be stringing. So take your flush cutters. The size of your wire is going to depend on the hole size of your bead. So I've got the 24 gauge wire. You could go a little bit higher than that, like thicker. So now I'm just going to fold this over at the tip. So just bend it over. This is super easy to bend. I might use that'll work. So get it nice and squeezed tight, like that. Okay, and we'll just open this a bit. Because now what we're going to do is we're going to hook our cord onto this piece. Here, let me just do it with my nail. Just pop that open a bit like that. So your cord can go in there. On the other end, we're going to create a loop with your round nose pliers. And this is just to prevent your beads from falling off. So something like that. So I'm gonna take this off now and just slide this like this. You can attach them one by one. The holes are quite big on these beads, so it's not a big issue. This works great if you have a lot of seed beads that you're gonna string. So you can see already, like, that loop stops them from coming off. Just continue. That. Now I did put a charm on each of them. So just to let you know, when you're using a large bead, you want to remember to put a large jump ring, because you want your beads to sit in between the two beads, but this part here, you don't want it sticking in between this section. So if you had a small jump ring, it would want to sit up high. The other thing is, make sure your jump ring is nicely closed, because the stretch cord will actually get in between that and you'll lose your charm. Now I put spacer beads, tiny ones, to outline the heart. That. And there's another tiny one. That. And the amount of beads and spacer beads will depend on what wrist size you're making this for. So now I have them all on there like that. So let me look at this hole size. So the larger crystal, this stretch cord should work easily through there. So take out a little more than what you're gonna need to string it. And we'll cut that. Make sure you pre-stretch your cord because it does extend, and then sometimes it doesn't bounce back to the initial length that you cut. So you don't want your stretch bracelet to be all loose after time. So this is from there. So now take your end of your stretch cord to the end, the part that you see there, the part that we folded over. Take your stretch cord around your line like that and pull it tight and bring it across, and you can squeeze that again like that so it doesn't come loose. Like that. Now we're gonna take all the beads and put it over the cord. So you can slide a bunch at once, but I'll tell you, it's probably better if you just do a few at a time or one at a time so that it doesn't get all stuck. If your cord is really tight because your bead holes are a little smaller than this, what you can do is actually stretch this, and when you stretch this part, it makes the cord smaller, the diameter. And let me, this is getting a little unhooked here. There we go, perfect. I'm going to slide the rest down. Some of them will even, look at 3 at a time there. So this is a cool trick. You can buy these threading needles for stretch cord at Michael's. But I don't know why you would if this works. You know, I think they're like $10, or they were 5 years ago. So they're probably a lot more than that. So now take a look at your bracelet, and I would hold them like this. And let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And twist it like that to about there, and then test it on your. So that is, I think, perfect. So we know that's where we want it. There is a bunch of videos, probably thousands of videos out there on how to tie your stretch cord knot. This is how I tie mine. I've never had them break. And when I have a stretch cord or stretch bracelet I love, I wear it all the time. So I put an initial knot in it like this. Bring it down to the beads. Then hang on to your both ends. Take your finger, pull it through, and then you're going to do what they call a surgeon's knot. It's basically a knot, but you take your tail through the loop twice like that. Make sure you still hold on to those ends. And where's the other end there? And you're going to take these guys and bring them down quickly, letting go, and then pull that tight. Now I stretch the bracelet out as well, and that will kind of test it to make sure that the knot is cinched all the way, but hang on to your ends. In case it's not, then you know you got to fix that. So it loosened a bit, but I think it's there now. And I do one more knot. There's so many ways to do it. You got to find what works for you. And I only say that because I do get some comments that are, it's like, yeah, whatever. That's all I'll say about that. So if you're tempted to tell me how it's done. And then we're just going to clip it. I always leave a bit of a tail on there like that. You don't have to. Let me see about that. That's fine. And you can add glue. Now, there's controversy about that too. Some glues will dry out the stretch cord and make it crack and brittle. So I don't use glue on it, but you can put a dab of the GS Hypo. And then I would suggest you put your knot inside one of the larger spacer bead holes, and it will adhere to that hole and keep it. You can see it's almost hidden the whole thing. Or you can always, if you want to hide it in the bead, actually those holes are pretty big. So just hang on to your stretch cord, and like I said, you extend your cord so it's thin and just pop it, maybe roll that a bit inside. There, it popped in. That's it. How lovely is that? With our lovely earrings. And now you're all set. So we'll do the others. We'll go a little faster this time. So I wanted to do this as well to show some of the new beaders about really doing something super cool with your stretch bracelets that's a little more elegant. So I think we'll stick with this cord here. We'll do this dark topaz, a little bit more piece, and stretch it nicely. Ow, that one hurt. There's no hurting in beading. And might as well do the same method here. So fold your stretch cord over, slide it onto the end. Oh, they do that at the end. I'm way ahead of myself. So the other way, if you don't have these rods, these metal rods to line up your beads, you can use your cord for your beading cord. And let me see if I can show you that. This is just the regular wire tiger tail twisted wire with the coating on it. And you see how it does it nice and lovely. Now we're going to switch. I found that this heart was too small for these big beads, so we're going to put this one on. So let's get our needle and see if we can get this on. Yeah, that one works a lot better. It's just because the beads are bigger, so the holes are higher up. And it helps if you leave it on the cord. But I knew the other one, the holes were small. Okay, so we'll have to stop here and add our big heart. Here, let's do it this way. There. Okay. I put here, let's get these out of here. One of these spacers. So when you do that, just remember you want the bead cap to go on the next bead. So you want it facing that bead away from your charm. And okay, so these holes are really small on these, so it won't fit my needle. So let's put these on. So wrap your stretch cord and pull that in and take these down, and look at that. How fast is that? So if you were doing like a craft show and you had a bunch to do, Look at how fast that was. So now we can put these on this way, just directly. You can also make a smaller needle just to go through the individual beads. You don't have to do it. Oh, let's put the bead cap. That. Okay, I'm just gonna leave those and I'll string the rest. We'll put that over there. Okay, so then we'll go through here. That. If you use a thicker gauge of wire, you won't have it bending like that. You can harden your wire as well with a nylon. Let me just show you on the, yeah, so let's straighten this piece out just so you have an idea. So you just hold it like that and look at how it straightened it out nicely. So now let's add this to our stitch. So grab the end that you were working on and straighten that out. Wrap that around, stretch and pull. It's now on there. And just pop those on. That's how fast it is. Ta-da! It's magic. Okay, let's take a look. So the idea of using this is to determine how long. So these are inches and they are pretty accurate. Now my wrist size is under 6 inches, but I'm probably going to be using these as gifts. So I went just slightly past, probably about a 7.5. And like I said, these are pretty accurate. So now, oh, this one's beautiful. I can't believe these beads. I think they're like stunning. So I should have mentioned these are beautiful gold-plated, and they're really hard to see. They're tiny, but you can see how lovely that turned out. So grab your, I won't measure it on my wrist. There's no point. My wrist is so small. So your first knot, then take your cord, create a loop, and then bring the tail through twice. So there's once and twice. Takes a bit of finger dexterity. So make sure you hold those tight like that. And you kind of have to do a quick pull of those. And that. This you could put, multiple knots and not worry because there's lots of room to hide the knot in. So if you pull like this and it doesn't come apart, you're good. So I think that's why I tend to leave a bit of a tail on the end here so that it doesn't unravel, but it really shouldn't. So there, like that. Throw the pieces off and we can hide this in the, like, let's pull that. Oops, went a little too far. There, that, and look at this beautiful bracelet. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so we'll put that one there. We'll do the next one. So the next one, we don't have any wire holding it together to get an idea, but pretty sure we're going to be fine. Now this one looks like, if I squeeze those, it's about a 7. So let's take a bit of cord. and stretch out each section. You can see how much it stretches. This, I have to say, you should probably use fresh stretch cord. And what I mean by that is if you had some sitting in your drawer for a couple of years, like me, it's probably been a good 3 to 4 years since I've used this, but so far it's good. Now, I say you should use fresh because this does get brittle and starts to deteriorate. So you want to, if you're giving it as a gift, even if you're using it for yourself, you don't want it, falling apart and losing your beads. So let's do this one next. I've got my needle, homemade needle, and just slide these on. Like that. So a big thank you to Isa. If you didn't catch my video of my Toronto trip at John Bead, she is the person that puts together the Curiosity boxes. She goes in the warehouse and she finds beads and findings and everything else to put in the boxes, and they are stunning. So like these, you could put these in the boxes anytime, Isa. They're so beautiful. So I'm using these tiny little spacers. You know what? I bought these by mistake. They're so tiny, it's hard to use them on stuff. So I thought it'd be nice to separate the charms, and let's make sure that's on there good. Then the next little one here. Oh, I'm missing oh, there it is. So these are lovely. Again, these are the kind of things I find online for super inexpensive. So there. And you can see it's on the cord, and that loop is preventing it from falling off. So now we've got our cord that we've pre-stretched. We're going to wrap it over the needle like this. Hold the two pieces and pull it tight onto the actual needle part, and pick up the tail end, drop it down. Look at that. How amazing is that? This one looks big. So if you're not sure about the size, I do have a mandrel. So what I do is I take the two ends and I pull them a bit and then twist them as if they were stuck together like that. So that's kind of how your bracelet would be. Grab my mandrel. You can get these on Amazon. So it's probably right at 7. This one might be a bit smaller. I'm trying to think if I have extra beads. No, I don't. It's right at. So this would be for a small wrist. That. If you need to extend your beads, by all means, add extra spacer beads or larger spacer beads. So let's take the two ends, make a knot, pull it tight. Oh, I don't have a spacer on the end. I think I was at the end of those spacers, but let me check. Oh, look. Oh, that's some more. I could probably use these large spacers to make this bracelet a little bigger. Okay, I just need one. Okay, so let's put this on the end. You know what? I think I will, because I'm pretty sure not everybody has a tiny wrist like me. So let's grab. So we have one for that end, and we need two here. Okay. So let's put one, and then our lovely heart. And the next one, the bead, a spacer, bead, a spacer. We're going to check how big this is. There. So now we have a spacer, and the next bead is a bead. So we know that's going to work. So let's take a look at the size so we can check it this way, or we can check it against our, let's do it both ways and see how accurate this board is. You know what, I don't think my, so this is telling me that it's 8. That's too big. That's probably why, and it looks like a bit too much there. If we just use a gold bead, let's find a gold bead. Okay, I'm back. I paused the camera for that. I'm very indecisive when I'm picking stuff. So let's flip this way so we can see what we have in the length. So we want to take these guys off. What I decided was one of these little bead caps. That in there. And one of these tiny little beads, gold beads. And that'll probably, your jump ring from your charm might slide over. And actually I just saw a gap. It's the tiniest, slightest little gap. But I'll tell you, if you're stretching your cord, like I said, it gets smaller. That will pop over that. So let's see if we can tighten that a bit. So when you're tightening, just twist back and forth as you're pushing together, and that'll bring it together like that. Let's see. There. Slide that on. And you can test it by doing the same thing I do with the needle, is take the both ends. And let's find where the jump ring opens. You can see it there. And take your cord and look at that. It went over it. So that's what I mean. You have to be really careful. So let's see if we can. You could, if you had some small closed jump rings, you could attach this to the small one, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that, but we should be able to get this closed. That should do it. Okay. Get our end of our cord Slide that on. Put the tiny gold bead on there. Then your bead cap, remembering to have your bead cap go towards the next bead. So like this, that, and there, look at that. That's nice. So we need one of these. So we can put those aside. Your bead. This is still a little bit, but that's okay. If you have a 7.5-inch wrist, a little bit of a slack in your bracelet is fine. Oh, there, it's 7.5. Perfect. So let's test this on the mandrel to see how accurate the this one's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. You know, it's bad. I'm making these. I don't want to give them away. So twist this like that by pinching and turning. And get your mandrel out. And just let it kind of go. Yeah, so it's actually, you should remember, so I would not count on this all the time. Here is the deal. The larger your bead, the smaller the circumference of the inside, which is your wrist, that it's going to fit. So when this is laying flat, it may say 7.5, but when you put it on the mandrel, and that's why I have one of these. Look, I could have easily used the extra spacer beads. This is like a 7, and it's wanting to stretch. So we'll leave this one like this for now. And if I feel like I need to change it, I'll just restring it. So do your first knot, pull that tight, and do your double twisted knot, which is called a surgeon's knot. Like that. You know, it's funny, surgeons practice doing knots, nurses practice taking knots out. It's exactly how we didn't use any like real skin or anything. We had like a silicone board that had surgeon's knots in, and we would cut, because sometimes you can cut one and then everything slides through. TMI, right? Oh, the things you learn on my channel. So let me make sure see how it's not going anywhere. I didn't even put the third knot. So let's just do about that much. And I use my flush cutters to cut my, so we can put it in the bead, or we could put it through the spacer. I might put it through the bead, actually. That way it's not going to come apart. There. And just loosen everything. Look at, look, that's amazing. Okay, next one. This one's my favorite. I love frosted pink. I like frosted anything, I think. So let's get this one on there. These are lovely. They're roses. And there's a bunch of roses all around. They're spacers. And they're gold plated as well. So I think this one, we only had this many beads. So this will be a keeper. Pink. Excuse me, pink frosted. Okay, we'll get our needle. And slide that in. This one might be harder to get through. I did find, let's take these wire things out. Oh, it's fine getting through. Oh, this is what I was going to say. So this frosted is a coating. Do you see these are like pearls where the hole looks tiny, but if you look on this side, the hole's bigger. So we might have to. You could do these directly on. You know what? Let's do it directly on the stretch cord. To tell you why, because I don't want. If you know about using pearls when it has the finish like that, if you poke through it with something, it could potentially peel the actual coating off. We don't want that. And just stretch, stretch, stretch. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put so sometimes when I do my stringing, I actually leave it right on here and then just string and then pull this out, cut. But since I already cut it, I take I don't know what they call these butterflies, pinches or something, and just attach that and grab our beads. And if you're meeting resistance through your bead, just roll your. So see, we'll do this one from this side, and I'll show you what I mean, because I'm sure that'll get stuck. Oh, it went through. Just roll your cord, and it'll slide through. There we go. Through here, and you can go over your beads and just open the hole a bit. You're not actually opening the hole, you're just opening the area of the, let's do that actually, of the finish so that it doesn't get knocked off. So I'll just take my needle or my head pin and just kind of open it like that. There. We didn't have to damage it. That. Okay. Bead cap. Facing. Almost did it. Facing that bead. Like that. Get our. So this one I did put a closed jump ring. So that's what I was saying. Closed jump ring, open jump ring, then the jump ring that's attached. This heart, I don't know if you can see it. There's a crystal inside there. So you're getting like little flashes of light. But the reason I extended it, because the heart was not in the correct orientation. So I didn't want the heart to sit on the bracelet like that. I wanted it to sit this way. So that's why I extended it like that. In case you're wondering, I guess you could go through the bottom jump ring. See, is that one's an open one. So, and now I'm looking at this. This is actually an open jump ring. I must have changed my mind. I think what happened was I had a bunch of like solid gold jump rings, and I say a bunch. I had like 10 of them. What happened was there was a huge sale at one of the bead shops in the US, and when I shop sales, I will add like a single item in the cart and then go back to it and multiply it. So, then I can decide how many I want. I forgot. I placed the order before checking the cart. So they were like 10 cents each and stuff like that. And I ordered like 2 of them. There's a bunch of frosted ones like these. These are gold filled. I was like, oh, I could have easily ordered a bunch, but those things happen. Okay, this one, yeah, a little tight on there. This one. Now, you could use the other stretch cord that I showed you. I'll put this in this one here and double it up. Now, I've seen videos where they're like, yeah, it's great, double it up. But what they do is they put their threading needle in the middle like this, and then they double it like this. And then when they come around to the end, they take this loop and they tie their thread ends to that. Well, for my thought around this is that's only one piece of cord. So if it breaks here, it will come apart and this part will come off and it'll come back off on this end. But if you do a single strand, tie a knot, then do another single strand, or you could do them both, but cut this and attach it to the other side. Does that make sense to you? So what I'm getting at is if you're really concerned and you have the space in your beads, do 2 strands with separate knots. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's very controversial, you know. People have a lot of opinions about stretch bracelets. I'm like, you know what? Then I see, this is hilarious. I see a 12-year-old on YouTube that has over 1 million views on a stretch bracelet video. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Isn't that funny? The kids, man, they figured it out. So let's take our little pinch. Yeah, I think this is going to be this is a Barbie doll size. I'm going to test my theory here. So there's the 6. So that'd be right there. And, oh, you know what? It might be shorter because these beads are quite big. Let me see. I might have to add some. Oh. I'm pretty sure my wrist is not that small. Let's take a look on the mandrel. We may be putting this one aside till I can scoop up some other beads to go on it. It doesn't even go over the mandrel. Look, this is a size 5. Let me go down. I'm actually 5 3/4. That's why I put that thing there. And look, I need a few beads. I'm wondering if we put some of these roses up here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little slip knot here. Put this aside. I'm going to make this for myself. So let's take a look at what we have so far. This is supposed to be a very quick video. That's not happening. Oh my gosh, these are gorgeous. This way. Look at that. So there's the bracelets we have so far. Let me show you what that looks like. There's that one. I love the clinking sound of the beads. Look at that. And see about my favorite color, the dark topaz. It's lovely. Oh yeah, that's lovely. Okay. So I'm gonna grab these here and let's make some earrings. So I actually made a set. Oh, that's that one there that came off. There. Fixed. Let's take a look. So we'll do the blues first. There's your blue bracelet. So this is what we're going to do with these. These are so simple. Let me grab. I actually made a pair with different findings as well. So if you don't like the big, huggy, chunky, You can always use those. Well, did I steal a bead from somewhere? Oh, you know what it is? One of these we're going to redo. I just left it because I wanted to show you a trick. Okay. So when you're making earrings on a head pin that has I didn't even take out the supplies, that has one of these spacer beads that has a big hole, you see what happens is it slides all over where the head pin is. Now, are you really going to notice that on a pair of earrings? This is what happens when you fix that problem. That's not friendship here. This one is getting stuck. Here, let's do it like this. There we go. So this one here, it stays in the middle, like it doesn't move, compared to this one. Yeah, let's put these side by side so you can see. So you see how this one moves over. That one doesn't. Simple fix is you put your bead on like that. I used 2 8/0 seed beads. So I did it for the length of that. So let's take this off. And we'll just cut that off. That didn't cut nice. There we go. Should come off. So now we take our spacer bead and it goes right over top and it stays in place. That was actually a subscriber told me that trick. So I love it. That was years ago. Otherwise, I might remember the person's name. Do you know what? I think it might have been, let me think if I got Tammy. So if that was you, Tammy, let me know in the comments. I'm pretty sure Tammy had some amazing tips. I'm thinking, making sure I got the right person's name. Okay, so now we're just gonna clip that. I usually go to about here, and then if we have to cut some of that off, we will. Grab your round nose pliers and turn there like that. And we'll just open that up. Put this closed jump ring on there like that. I'm going to use my other pliers to close this nicely. Try not to crush your crystal. This head pin that I have is super strong. It's a pain in the butt. And then you just slide it on. These I got online. They remind me of like Christmas frosty. And there's your earrings. So now you got 2 sets of earrings and a bracelet. 3 sets of earrings. Look at that. So you can make a ton of stuff. I would probably make this into a charm. you could do it on this, but I like putting charms around a strung bracelet. So let's grab these guys here. And I have some head pins. So let me talk about this tray. I got this tray years and years ago. It was super cheap. It has these pockets at the top to put your beads like that. I should grab these now while I'm here. So funny story. Because this is like a hard plastic coated in like a velour finish, they can't fold it or anything. And so it came to the house. There was a massive box on our front step. And my wife was like, "What did you order now?" The funny thing is, I ordered that tray, and at the time it was $10. So she didn't believe me. Oh, what do you think? She thinks I spend a lot of money on beads? No. So we've got our lovely, like a lavender purple color, and these. So I tried to match the spacer and bead with the bracelet to really make it look like an elegant set, like that. So I'll put that on there. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than this. Now I guess that's good. You could put a smaller gold bead here at the top, but I think we'll leave it like that. And you can do like wire wrapping. This head pin is a little thinner than the other one, so it would probably work really well. So let's just turn that like that. And just open it a bit. Get my lovely, I'm going to close this a little better. See how they're open. There. These ones don't have to be closed like super tight because they're not going on the stretch cord. They're going around that earring, which is quite wide. And close this. There. Like that. Oh, that's pretty. Wow, I like this one. I like them all. And just close it. Look at that. Oh, how easy is that? Let's get the next one on. And the spacer bead. That. And turn that. Actually, turn that there. That. Put it up. Put that on there. Close this up. There, and I'm gonna make sure that's nice and closed. Let me get my other pair here. So these were the gold filled. It's like, no. You know, I'm sure if you order stuff online and you pay a lot of money for stuff and you get it and it's in like a little package this big, you're like, what? What is that? That's not what I paid for. It was one of those moments. Like, no, these are lovely. Look at that. To go with this lovely. Okay. The final one is under my tray here. Let me move that. These ones are going to be cool. And you know, the funny thing with these ones, it was only because I couldn't find um, a jump ring that would fit these earrings. Look at these. Isn't that amazing? They're the Huggies again, so it opens and clips. So this is going to somewhat match this bracelet. So let's move this one over here. Let's move these out of the way. Move these here. And there. Okay, so get your large bead on. Get the spacer. Then your leaf. Kind of wanted it to look like some type of fruit with the leaf on the top, and I love the way it looks. So yeah, I need a big loop. Actually, no, the smaller loop will fit on this. If you're wondering, this is a clasp. It actually came like this, and it had a fold over piece here. But I found that the fold over was so tiny, it was hard to open and close. So I think it's awesome to use it this way. So let me clip this. A little too much there, like that. And make a loop with your round nose pliers all the way. And then we'll open this up like that. Like that. Actually, you know what? I want the longer piece to the front of the wire so that you don't see the closure there. And let's get this nicely closed tight here. There, like that. Oh, look at that. That's pretty. Wait till you see it on. So this is the back. The one piece that folds down is the back. So we want it to sit this way. So I'll go in here, close that, and look it. Isn't that pretty? Let's see if we can straighten this out. Get our bead on there, and our spacer bead, and our leaf. That. Gonna this about there. Make a loop. And open that. Tick that on there. And then we'll try and close this. This part's a little kind of finicky. Just because it's a little tight, but there, perfect. And open this. There we go. Look at these. Oh my god. These are amazing. So let's lay them out so you can see them. These are amazing. So there's two. Here, let me do that. Here, maybe we'll put these here. Like that. There, and then the last one. Oh, that's great. They're fitting on the, I was going to say they're not going to fit on the screen. Let's put these here. Bonus pair of earrings. Like that. There we go. And all from Desert Caravan. So a huge thank you to John Bead. And don't forget, the links are in the description. All of these beads were from that box. The findings were findings I had collected over the years. But use what you have. You know, if you have just a basic earring hooks and stuff, by all means use that. But this is how you can fancy up your stretch cord bracelet and just be able to pop a bracelet on easy and quick. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.